Mark chapter 8. In those days, when there was again a great crowd without anything to eat, he called his disciples and said to them, I have compassion for the crowd, because they have been with me now for 3 days and have nothing to eat. If I send them away hungry to their homes, they will faint on the way, and some of them have come from a great distance. His disciples replied, How can one feed these people with bread here in the desert? He asked them, How many loaves do you have? They said, 7. Then he ordered the crowd to sit down on the ground. And he took the 7 loaves, and after giving thanks, he broke them and gave them to his disciples to distribute. And they distributed them to the crowd. They had also a few small fish, and after blessing them, he ordered that these too should be distributed. They ate and were filled, and they took up the broken pieces left over, 7 baskets full. Now there were about 4,000 people, and he sent them away. And immediately he got into the boat with his disciples, and went to the district of Dalmanutha. The Pharisees came and began to argue with him, asking him for a sign from heaven to test him. And he sighed deeply in his spirit and said, Why does this generation ask for a sign? Truly I tell you, no sign will be given to this generation. And he left them, and getting into the boat again, he went across to the other side. Now the disciples had forgotten to bring any bread, and they had only 1 loaf with them in the boat. And he cautioned them, saying, Watch out, beware of the yeast of the Pharisees and the yeast of Herod. They said to one another, It is because we have no bread. And becoming aware of it, Jesus said to them, Why are you talking about having no bread? Do you still not perceive or understand? Are your hearts hardened? Do you have eyes and fail to see? Do you have ears and fail to hear? And do you not remember, when I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000, how many baskets full of broken pieces did you collect? They said to him, 12. And the 7 for the 4,000, how many baskets full of broken pieces did you collect? And they said to him, 7. Then he said to them, Do you not yet understand? They came to Bethsaida. Some people brought a blind man to him, and begged him to touch him. He took the blind man by the hand, and led him out of the village. And when he had put saliva on his eyes, and laid his hands on him, he asked him, Can you see anything? And the man looked up and said, I can see people, but they look like trees walking. Then Jesus laid his hands on his eyes again, and he looked intently, and his sight was restored, and he saw everything clearly. Then he sent him away to his home, saying, Do not even go into the village. Jesus went on with his disciples to the villages of Caesarea Philippi, and on the way he asked his disciples, Who do people say that I am? And they answered him, John the Baptist, and others Elijah, and still others, one of the prophets. He asked them, But who do you say that I am? Peter answered him, You are the Messiah. And he sternly ordered them not to tell anyone about him. Then he began to teach them that the Son of Man must undergo great suffering, and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. He said all this quite openly. And Peter took him aside, and began to rebuke him. But turning and looking at his disciples, he rebuked Peter and said, Get behind me, Satan, for you are setting your mind not on divine things, but on human things. He called the crowd with his disciples, and said to them, If any want to become my followers, let them deny themselves, and take up their cross and follow me. For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake, and for the sake of the gospel, will save it. For what will it profit them to gain the whole world, and forfeit their life? Indeed, What can they give in return for their life? Those who are ashamed of me and of my words in this adulterous and sinful generation. Of them the Son of Man will also be ashamed when he comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels. 马可福音第8章。那时，又有许多人聚集，并没有什么吃的。耶稣叫门徒来说：“我怜悯这众人，因为他们同我在这里已经3天，也没有吃的了。我若打发他们饿着回家，就必在路上困乏，因为其中有从远处来的。”门徒回答说：“在这野地，从哪里能得饼，叫这些人吃饱呢？”耶稣问他们说：“你们有多少饼？”他们说：“7个。”他吩咐众人坐在地上，就拿着这7个饼祝谢了，掰开递给门徒，叫他们摆开。门徒就摆在众人面前。又有几条小鱼，耶稣祝了福，就吩咐也摆在众人面前。众人都吃，并且吃饱了，收拾剩下的零碎，有7筐子，人数约有4000。耶稣打发他们走了，随即同门徒上船，来到大马努他境内。法利赛人出来盘问耶稣，求他从天上显个神迹给他们看，想要试探他。耶稣心里深深地叹息说：“这世代为什么求神迹呢？我实在告诉你们，没有神迹给这世代看。”他就离开他们，又上船往海那边去了。门徒忘了带饼，在船上除了1个饼，没有别的食物。耶稣嘱咐他们说：“你们要谨慎，防备法利赛人的教和希律的教。”他们彼此议论说：“这是因为我们没有饼吧？”耶稣看出来就说：“你们为什么因为没有饼就议论呢？你们还不醒悟，还不明白吗？你们的心还是鱼丸吗？你们有眼睛看不见吗？有耳朵听不见吗？也不记得吗？我掰开那5个饼分给5000人，你们收拾的零碎装满了多少篮子呢？”他们说：“12个。”又掰开那7个饼分给4000人，你们收拾的零碎装满了多少筐子呢？他们说：“7个。”耶稣说：“你们还是不明白吗？”他们来到伯赛大，有人带一个瞎子来，求耶稣摸他。耶稣拉着瞎子的手，领他到村外，就吐唾沫在他眼睛上，按手在他身上，问他说：“你看见什么了？”他就抬头一看，说：“我看见人了，他们好像树木，并且行走。”随后又按手在他眼睛上，他定睛一看，就复了原，样样都看得清楚了。耶稣打发他回家，说：“连这村子你也不要进去。”耶稣和门徒出去，往凯撒利亚腓立比的村庄去，在路上问门徒说：“人说我是谁？”他们说：“有人说是施洗的约翰，有人说是以利亚，又有人说是先知里的一位。”又问他们说：“你们说我是谁？”彼得回答说：“你是基督。”耶稣就禁戒他们，不要告诉人。从此他教训他们说：“人子必须受许多的苦，被长老、祭司长和文士弃绝，并且被杀，过3天复活。”耶稣明明地说这话，彼得就拉着他劝他。耶稣转过来看着门徒，就责备彼得说：“撒旦，退我后边去吧，因为你不体贴神的意思，只体贴人的意思。”于是叫众人和门徒来，对他们说：“若有人要跟从我，就当舍己，背起他的十字架来跟从我。因为凡要救自己生命的，必丧掉生命；凡为我和福音丧掉生命的，必救了生命。人就是赚得全世界，赔上自己的生命，有什么益处呢？人还能拿什么换生命呢？凡在这淫乱罪恶的世代，把我和我的道当作可耻的，人子在他父的荣耀里同圣天使降临的时候，也要把那人当作可耻的。”